I went to mosque to pray there every Friday. But for me, as a Muslim, I didn't face any problem preventing me from practicing my religion in China. American government show that very caring and emotional of Muslims. The Americans killed millions of Muslims. And now they are playing the role of the Superman or Batman to protect Muslims everywhere. It makes no sense. We are not stupid. We know who is our friend and who is our enemy. If you want to disturb the peace in any country, just focus on the minorities. It's obvious that Xinjiang issue is a tool to disturb the peace in China by the West. If you only give your brain free to the West media, they will fill it with many ideas that will program you to condemn this issue and to believe it. They said China government practice abortion in women in camps, and this is illogic because Xinjiang population rises from 5 million to 20 million in 20 years. How can you believe this? You have to use your brain. This makes no sense. I think as an African country, as an Arab country, we share with China a lot of history. We can understand China more than the other Western countries. Maybe some government will try to blackmail China with this riot in Hong Kong in order to make China bow. But for me, I think those countries have a lot of problems, especially with the human rights. They can focus on it instead of giving advice to China. China has suffered from colonialism, like my country, like most of African growing countries. The West used to have ambitions in order to control those countries by the wars, by the guns. They didn't see China use those guns, so they create this excuse in order to make China bad in the world's eyes. The debt trust is one of them. They are scared of the growing of China, especially the economic growing. It has nothing to do with the human rights.
Salam alaikum, it's Keybros. Welcome to our first ever African episode of Soft Talk, where unlike BBC's Hard Talk, the interviewees won't find it hard to talk. So today we are very honored to have a guest from Mauritania. His name is Moustapha. He has lived and studied in China before for many years, so he will share his insights as a Muslim who has lived in China before. Moustapha, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me. My name is Moustapha. I was born in the north of the country, and then my family moved to the capital, Nouakchott. I studied university and graduated from School of Journalism. I'm a freelance interpreter and a journalist. I went to China 3 times, so I'm interested in China affairs.
What is your view on the Hong Kong protests in the past 2 years?
Nothing can justify the riots or the violence against the civilians. Maybe some government will try to blackmail China with this riot in Hong Kong in order to achieve some political results. But for me, you can call me a neutral who is watching what happens there. I think China, over the years, tried always to practice the peace, not only in Hong Kong, but over China. And China used to deal with its diplomacy with other countries based on not to enter in internal issues in other countries. So it's meaningless to let another country try to blackmail China with Hong Kong issue. I think those countries have a lot of problems, especially with the human rights. They can focus on it instead of giving advice to China. China has no colonialism past, and China has suffered from colonialism like my country, like most of African growing countries. I think as an African country, as an Arab country, we share with China a lot of history, and we have a lot of mutual respect with China more than other countries. We can understand China more than the other Western countries who used to use like Hong Kong or Xinjiang or some Chinese internal issue to blackmail China in order to make China bow. They are scared of the growing of China, especially the economic growing. I think it's economic competition with China. It has nothing to do with the human rights.
How did the media back in Mauritania report on the Hong Kong protests?
We have not really modulate our media. We have some private channels. We have government channels. You can say that the newspaper have really disappeared right now because there is no sponsors. But in general, Mauritania, they know a lot about China. And they know that China is one of the greatest friends over the years. But internal issues over China, I think they lack the information about that situation because there is no media exchange between China and Mauritania. That's why I launched my website, focused on the media exchange between China and Mauritania to let Mauritanian people know more about China and vice versa.
Mauritania is one of the 53 countries that officially supported the enactment of the controversial Hong Kong SAR national security law in the United Nations Human Rights Council. What is your view on the law? Do you think it is necessary?
To be honest with you, I'm not really informed about the law, but I'm sure that this law will ensure the law and order in Hong Kong.
Mauritania enjoys a very positive relationship with China, and it's about to become a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Many Chinese companies invest in Mauritania with infrastructure projects, including a new airport for the capital, Nouakchott, oil and iron ore production and transportation through its ports. What do you think about the Chinese-Mauritania relations? Do you think the BRI can actually help your country? And how would you respond to the notion that China is setting up debt traps?
They see China everywhere in Mauritania, like the government buildings, stadium, infrastructures built by China's government. China-Mauritania relations started in 1965. Mauritania cut off its relations with Taiwan to show that we are your friend. Respect your sovereignty. China used it to help Mauritania, like medical, economically, humanitarian, agricultures in every section. Our cooperation is not a slogan, it is on the ground. You can see it every day. Speaking of the Belt and Road, I participated in this summit in 2017 in Xiamen. I know a lot about this project. Countries, if they say okay to be a part of the project, will benefit from. China will help any country who is a part of this project on many bases, like will build railways, ports, technology. I have wrote an article to tell my government that this project is very important for us. And I call them, just join this project and you will benefit from it. Until now, we are supporting the project, but we are not yet a part of this project. I hope in the future, we will use our good relations with China in order to enhance and move forward to become more cooperative with this good friend. The West used to have ambitions in order to control those countries by the wars, by the guns. They didn't see China use those guns, so they create this excuse to convince China to go out from those countries because they know that China has built good relations with those countries. China in history has never intervened in these internal issues in this country, used to be good friend, used to help them, especially on the humanitarian aid. I think the Western media is very creative in order to make China bad in the world's eyes. The debt trap is one of them. Maybe you can hear another expression tomorrow or after tomorrow. So they will not stop. But China is move on, and the relations with Africa is a symbol of international relations.
Having lived and studied extensively in China, what are your thoughts on the controversial issues in Xinjiang? And as a Muslim, how do you see the practice of Islam in China?
I went to mosque to pray there every Friday. I met Muslims from different countries with the Quran in their radios. So for me as a Muslim, I didn't face any problem preventing me from practicing my religion in China. Speaking of Xinjiang, if you only give your brain free to the West media, they will fill it with many ideas that will program you to condemn this issue and to believe it. They said China government practice abortion and women in camps, and this is illogic because Xinjiang population rises from 5 million to 20 million in 20 years. How can you believe this? You have to use your brain. This makes no sense. Another point, China has the total rights to practice sovereignty on its own land, it's Chinese land. If someone come to me in Mauritania and told me the south of the Mauritania is belongs to Senegal, our neighboring country, do you think that I will say, okay, take it? No, the south and the north and the east and the west all belong to Mauritania. And no one will let people divide my country. And so China, if you see the Xinjiang province, is very progressive and is very developed. The university there is a symbol of advancement, and China used it to help this province with a lot of money. And by the way, those small groups you can find everywhere. You can find in Mauritania, and they are led by Western agenda, especially with a country with ethnics. Mauritania, we have here Arabs and Africans. If you want to disturb the peace in any country, just focus on the minorities. Whether it's China or Mauritania or Lebanon, it's obvious that Xinjiang issue is a tool to disturb the peace in China by the West. You can tell when you hear American government show that very caring and emotional of Muslims. The Americans killed millions of Muslims. And now they are playing the role of the good guy or the international police officer and the Superman or a Batman to protect Muslims everywhere. It makes no sense. We are not stupid. We are not ignorant, and we know everything. In Mauritania, most of people in the world didn't know about it, but we are very informed and very educated. We know who is our friend and who is our enemy.
Can you please tell us a few interesting experiences you had during your time there? Was life in China enjoyable and free?
I arrived to China in 2017. I spent 1 year. Before I went to China, I had stereotypes like everybody about China and the Chinese people. One of them is that in China it's very crowded. You cannot move your arm. The Chinese people only eat rice and they have no kitchen. But when I arrived to China, I was surprised that the people that obey the law and order in the country, and it is very organized, the cars are moving smoothly. There is no crashes or stops. Chinese kitchen is very different. It has like a diversity. Started to learn every day from China. The country is very strong, very developed. Start to reducing poor in country area and growing fast like a miracle. In only less than 30 years, China became one of the greatest economies in the world. And that's why everybody is fighting China now, because they want to be number one and they are afraid of China to be there. I wrote many articles about my journey and diaries in China, about their lifestyle, clothes, food, street, meetings, journalism, how they respect their parents, all the people. This is something in common here. Very peaceful, very respectful. For me, I didn't find any problem to live in China because the society is very close to ours. There is some conservative community like our communities. So I really enjoyed my residence in China, especially that I live not only in Beijing, but I traveled to many provinces and I met many ethnics, Muslims, Chinese, Kazakh, Han, Huizu. I was very happy. That's why I came back to China 2 times later. One of them, I was invited by Belt and Road News Network, and the other, I was invited by Chinese Journalism Association. So I'm always happy to go there to chat with my Chinese friend there because I really admire and respect this country and respect what they achieved in this small time.
Tension between the United States and China have been growing lately. If the US were to go to war with China, obviously everyone here hopes that doesn't happen, which sides will people in Mauritania be more likely to side with?
Oh, this is a very tough question because it's scientific. You have to have an answer based on numbers. But my opinion, I think Mauritanian people respect China more than the United States, based on our long-term relations and this fruitful cooperation between the 2 countries.
Like China, Mauritania is also heavily criticized by Western countries for its poor human rights record. In fact, although Mauritania was the last country in the world to abolish slavery, some people still say that Mauritania has slavery going on to this date. Is this allegation true? Do you think it is justified for countries to intervene elsewhere in the name of bringing democracy and human rights?
This question is very close to China's Hong Kong issue. Yes, it's right that we had slavery practice over the years in my country, but we start to get rid of it, and we are serious about that. Instead of encouraging Mauritanian government, they use slavery to blackmail Mauritania, especially when the European Union not okay about the fishing contract with Mauritania, they will start immediately to take out the slavery from the box and show it to the world. It's obvious that slavery is not practiced in Mauritania. It used to be practiced. I'm not saying no, we have never witnessed the slavery in Mauritania, to be honest with you. This country witnessed the slavery over the years, but we are serious to get rid of this phenomenon. We are taking people who is practicing this slavery to the courts, and everyone who is saying or calling some people with names related to slavery, they take him to the courts. So we are very serious about this. We are dealing with the issue very bravely. Former slaves, they are now a part of the development of the country. They are ministers, officials, governors. So I think in general, we are trying our best to move on and to leave this issue behind our backs. Our people is understanding that slavery is against the human rights. The government is convinced that it is slavery against the human rights. Instead of helping us to move on, they use it to recall this issue from time to another to make some political result or economic result. I think that everyone who is in Mauritania and has no agenda and respect this country will tell you that slavery is not practiced as they used to be in the past. Now we are hoping in the few days we'll stop to hear about slavery in our country.
Our viewers don't really know much about Mauritania, ourselves included, so can you briefly introduce some interesting aspects and places to see in your country? For example, the language, the religion, and also the famous Sahara Desert.
Yeah, Mauritania, as you can see, in northwest Africa, neighbored by Western Sahara, Morocco, Algeria, and Senegal and Mali. Bordering the Atlantic Ocean, Mauritania size is twice size of Spain. It's more than 1 million square kilometers. It's larger than Texas and New Mexico combined. But the country is almost totally covered by the deserts. Over the years, people used to move to the capital, Nouakchott. Nouakchott is the most crowded city in Mauritania with more than 1 million people. It's a big number, and we are almost only 4 million. We have some natural resources like an iron ore. We have one of the most famous trains, one of the longest trains. We use it to ship iron ore to the port to export it to the Europe. Recently, we discovered some area that contains gold. So now the government gave license to people to work in this section. A lot of people now are going to look for gold and are digging the ground in order to be rich as soon as possible. We are famous by our fish because Mauritania is one of the richest coasts by fish in the world. And we are hope in the future our natural resources, our fortunes will reflect to the people. Mauritania is a Muslim country. The people is the desert lovers. They started from the desert and they have compassion and love for the desert. You can see that the country is trying to be like tourist direction by using its charming desert. The Mauritanian people is very welcoming, very peaceful. Many tourists visited the country and enjoy the desert.
How do you see the future of Mauritania in the next few years?
Cooperation between China and Mauritania on COVID-19 issue because China built a center of infected disease and viruses in Nouakchott. Also gave to Mauritania 50,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccines as a gift to Mauritania. The coming years, I hope that Mauritania will make huge and good steps forward. We are witnessing many things in different sections. We just qualified to African Nation Cup in Cameroon, which is a huge thing for us because we used to be absent, and this is our second time. Also, the political atmosphere is now very stable. We have witnessed 5 coups over the years. I hope Mauritania will continue to be more peaceful and as a Mauritanian citizen to see Mauritania in an advanced place in the future, because I think we can.
This marks the end of our video today. Again, thank you very much to Moustapha for coming onto the Keybros channel. We really enjoyed it and hopefully it was informative for you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the Keybros channel, make sure to do so by pressing the red button below. Also, consider dropping us a like by pressing the thumbs up button and share this video with your family and friends. And that's all for today. See you guys in the next video. Bye!